Hello. My name is Cici Blumstein, aka Agent Amphibian. And this is the story of how I became a frog collaborator and why. So let me take you through the most important elements of Agent Amphibian, the kind of thing you need in order to be a good agent and frog collaborator. So you need good waterproof boots. You need stalking hosiery that frogs will like and not run away. You need, of course, a sharp Agent Amphibian jacket, not least for the lapels to talk into. And finally, you need a particularly good hat. So as you approach, the amphibians won't hop away. Most importantly, you need this very sophisticated amphibian recording and listening device. But we'll come to that a little bit later. So how did all this happen? How did I turn into Agent Amphibian? Well, I've always been very interested in and had a deep connection to nature, the natural world, and in particular, I just liked being in it and listening to it, and listening to the creatures, plants, and so on. Even when I was 8, 9 years old, I would roam alone in forests and in collecting things in streams and so on. And a lot of that early connection flowed also into my work as an artist over the years. You see me here as an alternative parking attendant. This was during International Parking Day, which I instigated here in Brighton a few years ago, where parking spaces get taken over for a day to do something else on instead of parking a car. So now, but still, how did this story of Agent Amphibian begin? It's a cold afternoon in December 2012, just before the frost sets in. I open the backyard door and shake out a dusty rug, blinking into the white winter sunlight. At the edge of my vision, I catch an extra sparkle, watery and rhythmic, waves in a deep bucket. A frog, skinny and golden, a small jewel set in deep red plastic. I scoop the frog up and out of the icy water, its smooth, delicate body so light, I'm not sure it's really there, nestling in my hand, exhausted yet fiercely alive. As if under a spell, I turn from the barren winter yard and step through the door with my treasure, knowing exactly what to do next. I've never looked back. So, that little frog, this beautiful piece of evolution that's over 300 million years old, hopped straight into my heart. It was a wonderful moment, and it set off all sorts of things that I couldn't have imagined at that moment. I realized that it was winter. I had this little frog in my hand, and it had fallen into a bucket that it couldn't get out of by itself. It was already quite exhausted, and I realized it'd probably been in there for quite some time, and it would have drowned and probably frozen had I left it there or had I not found it. So I didn't even think about it I just scooped it up and I realized maybe I need to help it get over the winter, because at that point my backyard, an urban backyard here in Brighton, was kind of really barren and not suitable. It didn't really have any hiding spaces or hibernacular, as they're called, hiding spaces for frogs to overwinter in. So I started looking into how to do that. How do you do that? And I knew it would have to be indoors. So I built a temporary habitat, luxurious, wonderful habitat for this is the original frog, and I just called him the lucky frog. And here he is in his habitat. And I thought, okay, well, come next spring, though, I need to make sure that my backyard is ready. And I started to look into and research, so what do frogs really, really need? What do they love? And so I created I started to create a frog-friendly backyard. And what the lucky frog probably imagined was something like this. You probably dreamt of this. And these are the North Norfolk Broads. And I visited those on a research trip last year. And now, what the frog actually got was this. A habitatlet, but this was just the beginning. So I started to clear an area and set up an overground little miniature wildlife pond. And after only about 6 weeks, kachanga. You see all the plants started flowering, water plants are in there, and everything just started to explode. We have 7 native amphibian species here in the UK, and I'm sad to say that one of them has died out it went extinct in the wild about 20 years ago. It is a northern pool frog. And the northern pool frog, well, it just disappeared. The final one died one day. But it might just have been saved by its croak. So I discovered that frog croaking is actually incredibly important and very interesting. Now, there are as many types of croak as there are frogs in the world, and they are beautiful variety of croaks. Here's a little illustration of how we as humans imagine frogs sound like around the world. Here in English-speaking countries, it's the typical ribbit, ribbit. But actually, that's not what frogs sound like at all. So I want to play you something here, which is the northern pool frog. And the important thing about this is, so this is a kind of like a voice from the dead, but the important thing is that scientists started to really study this croak and to find out how is it different from other croaks. And so they discovered, well, there's very distinct dialects. So this one has about, this one is a North Norfolk frog croaking dialect of this species of frog. Now, you knew that a particular thing is going to happen now, don't you? Yes. We're going to do a little bit of croaking. So just to give you that, feeling, and so what does it feel like to croak? So I will need your help. This is the tiny little coqui frog of Puerto Rico. It's native to Puerto Rico, and the Puerto Ricans love it so much. It's a little bit of a national symbol, and also they love the chorus of thousands of these frogs croaking at night. People make deep connections to these secretive, hidden creatures, oftentimes through the croaking, because that's the only thing that sometimes you can't hear them, but you can't see them, but you can hear them. So let's, shall we try a little bit of, I'm going to give you a burst of coqui croaking, my version of it. So it goes something like this. Coqui, 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 coqui. And I've learned that, so imagine there's thousands and thousands of these frogs singing this. And what I've learned is that the ko, so male frogs sing to attract females, and the ko is kind of to say, get away you other thug males. I don't want you here in my territory. And the ki part is, come hither, females. And so, let's just see. Let's just do it. So, on the count of 3, 1, 2, 3. Thank you. Wow. Give yourself a round of applause. Now, I'm being given signs that I've only got a tiny little bit of time left, so we could play a lot more with that, but you'll get a little taste of that frog croaking feeling. Now, so I mentioned before that the northern pool frog is extinct in the wild, but here you see a little metamorph. That's a frog that's just changed from a tadpole to nearly a frog. It's got its 4 limbs, but a little bit of a tail is left. And this is actually a northern pool frog metamorph. 2 years ago, this photo was taken, and about 10 years ago, what happened is that based on the research that I told you about earlier of how these frogs croak, an identical group of frogs, pool frogs, was discovered in Sweden, or rather, it was discovered that they were so identical that these could be reintroduced to the UK. So the croak saved, we're hoping, has saved this species once again, and it can be perhaps reintroduced and thrive again. We shall see. Now, this is Tuffy, the loneliest frog in the world. He is the only one left of his kind in the world, and he stopped croaking when the last female that was rescued with him from Panama, from the rainforests of Panama, where this species of frog had started to die out dramatically, and a handful were saved, but only he made it, and he stopped croaking, and no one can remember how that croaking sounded now, and it was never recorded. So you see here, lonely Tuffy. He is in Atlanta in this frog pod. So this is a biosecure environment in Atlanta and the botanical gardens there. And you see here Mark Mandica, his keeper, and his son Anthony. And every morning, Mark goes with great trepidation to the frog pod. And he just hopes that Tuffy has made another day. And this is so very sad. And it says to me, it's really important to tune into what is around you, other people, other creatures, nature, and really listen very carefully, because one day it might not be there anymore, or not there in the way that you loved and treasured. Now, in my own work, to finish, I'm creating my own sort of biohabitats and installations to go into human environments. So here you see my swamp trolley. It's a mobile swamp trolley that lives at the moment in a digital working environment here in Brighton, and also this is my micro installation entitled The Jar of Lost Croaks. And you met him earlier. Here he is, the northern pool frog croak, and he lives in there. And you see behind as well a human form in pickled as well. So I'm hoping that with more awareness, we won't have to pickle another croak. And finally, this is me as Agent Amphibian, as you can see, and here's a beautiful common frog, Rana temperaria, one of my backyard frogs. And what I'm hoping to do in my work is to make sure that that frog and his kind don't become history and ex-frogs. And so I'm writing an amphibian thriller. That's my next project. And, and these Agent Amphibian, as you can imagine, will feature in it. Thank you.